Hello and welcome to another episode of Bible Answers in 5 Minutes. I'm your host Brad, and in today's episode we're going to ask a very interesting question. That question is, why didn't God offer angels a second chance at redemption and salvation? Why is it that the 1/3 of the angels who fell with Lucifer in Revelation 12, which we've looked at before, why did he not offer them a second chance? Why does he give humanity a second chance time and time again, more and more, but he never offered one to his angels? So let's get started with that. Now, I think there are two parts to this answer and kind of a third part. The first part I would simply say is that Adam is the one who brought sin into this world, Adam and Eve. Through one man, Romans 5 tells us, sin entered the world. Through another man, Jesus Christ, sin was atoned for in this world, because Jesus, he who knew no sin, became sin on our behalf, that we might have the righteousness of God. So I think for the first part of the answer is that because sin entered this world through a human, Adam, Jesus came into this world as a man, Son of God, became the Son of Man, and died for our sins. And I think that's the first part of the answer, is that Jesus did not come as an angel to die for the sins of angels. The second part of the answer, I think, deals with the issue of accountability. Now, if a 5-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a 25-year-old all go into the store and they all steal something, the 5-year-old's going to have probably a punishment that's different than the 15-year-old or the 25-year-old. If the punishments are handed out the way they're supposed to be, the 25-year-old's punishment is going to be worse than the 5-year-old's punishment. Ideally, because the older one should know better. The more knowledge you have, the more understanding you have about something, the more accountable you are. Spider-Man said it best, right? With great power comes great responsibility. And we see this pattern throughout the entire Bible. We see Moses, who just, he hit the rock instead of spoke to it. Why was his judgment of not being allowed to go into the promised land so intense? Because he had a high accountability to God. He was the leader. He knew God. Why did the children of Israel not be allowed to go into the promised land for 40 years? Because they had seen so many miracles. They saw the Red Sea parting, the firstborn of the Egyptians die, all the other 9, 10 plagues. He saw the pillar of fire by night and the cloud by day and manna from heaven. All of these miracles. And yet they still wouldn't believe God and trust God. So because their knowledge and their understanding was so much greater, their punishment was greater too. And for the angels who live in the presence of God, they exist in heaven. There's no, maybe he exists, maybe he doesn't. Well, if we look at creation, we can assume that there's a creator. No. Nothing like that for the angels. They see God in his throne room. They're in heaven. They have the highest level of accountability. So therefore, when they rebelled against him, they had the highest level of punishment. And I think that's the second answer in a simple summary, that those angels, they knew God, they saw Jesus, and they still chose to go with Lucifer and rebel because of pride and other various reasons. But I think that's why they don't have a second chance at redemption, because their accountability was the highest. Some other biblical examples of that, in Matthew 11, verse 20 through 24, Jesus is talking to all these different cities where he had performed all these different miracles, in Bethsaida, and Chorazin, and Capernaum. And he says, I did all these miracles and you won't believe. He says, if Sodom and Gomorrah, if Tyre and Sidon had seen the miracles that you've seen, they would have repented. And he says to those cities, it will be easier on the day of judgment, in verse 24, than it will be for you. It will be easier for Sodom and Gomorrah on the day of judgment than it will be for Capernaum. Why? Because the people of Capernaum saw God's power. They saw Jesus face to face, and they saw his miracles, and they heard his teachings, and yet they still rejected him. So when we come to passages such as 2 Peter 2:4 and Jude 1:6, that they tell us that God did not spare his angels when they sinned, but they cast them into hell to be bound in chains for everlasting periods of time, until the day of judgment, that is, and then they'll be thrown into fire, which is what Jesus tells us in Matthew 25:41. I hope that helps. And the third answer, I guess, also is just ultimately we don't know. I mean, these are just our best guesses, but I think they're pretty right on. So if you have any questions about this topic or any other, you know what to do. Leave messages in the comments, and have a great day, and God bless, and remember to like us on YouTube. Have a great day. Bye.